The saga rumbles on with Mesut Ozil confirming that he will be an Arsenal player next season against the will of our owners. You just could not write this on a Thursday. Nothing happens on a Thursday, nothing. And yet today we have got some big news to talk about and break down. I just don't know what to say anymore in regards to this news that continually drops on our new is happening, be it redundancies, be it transfer stories, be it swap deals, and now it's Mesut Ozil. We have been waiting to find out something regarding the German. He was spotted, of course, in Turkey with the Istanbul Başakşehir manager, which sparked rumours of a possible exit, and they have been utterly wiped away now with the news that has broken with an interview on The Athletic with David Ornstein and the man himself, Mesut Ozil. We're going to break this down. Of course, I can't show it to you on the screen. You need to be an Athletic subscriber if you want to read the article, but I can take you through some of the quotes of it and break down some of what Mr. Ozil has said. First off, thank you ever so much to everyone in the chat box. Thank you for joining us, people. Of course, this is a fairly early morning show for our Western listeners in South and North America, but for our Eastern listeners, you've got a nice evening show to enjoy. So do so, and of course, us over in Europe enjoying a very sunny. I was expecting rain at this point, but it's still blisteringly hot, as is the news off the press this morning. So thank you ever so much in the chat box. Let's get some initial reaction from you guys. Pascal, hi Tom, I'm raging, just read it on BBC. Of course, if you want to read the whole script, you need to be an Athletic subscriber. So please make sure you click the link in the description and join up. They're a fantastic website. They're not supporting us in any way, but they are a fantastic website. We interviewed Amy Lawrence, who is a writer of The Athletic, about her book 89. If you want to check that out on the channel, please make sure you do. Skywalker says, well, he is right about one thing. People are trying to blame it all on him. Mikel Arteta might be a part of it. This will never end, says Owen. Fraudstein and Fraudzeal. What a combo of fraudulence from Big Selt there. It's raining in Oxford, says Oburn. Well, okay, maybe it might not hit the south of England. Fingers crossed. Kitchen says, I love this show, even though the intros make my ear bleed. I'm sorry. I've tried to turn it down. It still won't let me turn it down. You can expect it for a Raw Reaction show. You just need to turn your volume down and then turn it back up again. I'm sorry. It's pouring down here in the East Midlands, says Red Bull. We may have missed it in the South UK. Anyway, let's crack on and get into the main meat and gravy of the article. So, Ozil was dismissing any notion of him leaving the Emirates Stadium before his deal expires. He said, my position is clear. I'm here through to the last day of our agreement, and I'll give everything I have for this club. Situations like these will never break me. They only make me stronger. I showed in the past that I can come back into the team, and I will show it again. Now, obviously, it's a very cut and dry statement. What I would say, my initial reaction to seeing an interview from Mesut Ozil is one thing. Yes, it confirms everything that we kind of already knew, that he will be here next season. We kind of knew this. It was all dreamland to think that we would get rid of those 350 grand a week wages this year. But the thing is that I struggle with the idea of a player coming out and going to arguably the most popular football website for Arsenal news, because Mr. Ornstein is there, James McNicholas is there, Amy Lawrence is there. Anyone who knows anything about Arsenal, really, in my opinion, is at The Athletic right now. And he knew by doing this interview, it was going to cause some issues throughout not just the fan base, but within the club. Arteta has been very, very clear in any interview regarding Arteta. When he's asked upon it, he keeps it in-house. When he was asked any questions, the situation is the same. He has kept as much of this in-house as feasibly possible. It is now on Ozil, who has come out and spoken about everything. And whether or not what you believe him saying is true, this is his perspective. Of course, it's going to be one which will try and paint him in the best light, which could be completely correct. We don't know the whole truth, obviously, until Arsenal come out as well with anything on it. And we probably won't know until after Ozil leaves, maybe not even then. But to come out initially in The Athletic with this interview it doesn't sit well with me. If you want to come out and you want to have your say, I just don't think this is the right time, place. Time is the key thing to do it. Get into the team again. If you don't get in for the rest of your time at Arsenal, come out at the end of your deal when you're no longer a player and an employee of the club and have your say on things. But until then, you're an employee and you should, in my opinion, respect that fact. Just do what you're telling us in this interview. Just do it. Get back into the team. You don't need to come out and tell everyone that you're trying to do that. Just do it. Actions speak so much louder than words. And we've heard Ozil talk a lot, and we haven't yet seen anything from the guy in terms of actions. So there you go. Big up, Tom. Huge fans. Thank you, Gundit. Much appreciated tuning in here. Pony Boy says, we sold our soul to a luxury player just when we needed soldiers for 350 grand a week. We need someone who will change a game when we need him. Kitchen says, you can hate him all you want. That's exactly what any of us would do. This is all a result of a bad decision making from the Arsenal backroom. 100% Kitchener. You can have a go at Ozil all you like, quite rightly in certain instances, but it's not Ozil's fault he was given this contract. The club gave him this contract, so you can't lambast Ozil with the 350 grand a week. That's at the club. That target's completely at the club. They gave him the deal. He just had to put his pen and paper to the contract, and you can't really say much more about it other than that. Jasmeet Singh, who is one of our newest TGT expert members. If you'd like to join Jasmeet and our fantastic group of over 50 amazing members and over nearly 30 expert members as well. Thank you so much for everyone that has signed up. Really appreciate all of you that are enabling this. There's your Plus Members podcast is going to be coming out next week with our good friend Mike. So looking forward to that. And of course, then the Expert Members podcast will be coming out a little bit later in the month as well. And there will be another appearance opportunity at the start of next month for all of the expert members to come on the show and have their thoughts on things as well. But Jasmeet says he did say he would fight for his place back in the squad. If that is true, I don't mind seeing Ozil back if he can replicate his best form. And the thing is that you can be as critical as you like about Mesut Ozil, but if he's to come back in and if he's to play well, you hold your hands up and say, fair play to the guy. He needs to start because he's playing well. He's doing what we need him to. But at the moment, we have not yet seen in the last 6 months an Ozil that can really add anything extra to this. That is it. Akene says, no, Tom. It is the fans that forces the club. No, I don't think it is. The club ultimately have never really listened to fans at all. The only time that you can have any semblance of the club listening to fans was when Arsene Wenger ultimately left because of the way things were declining, the way that there were barely any fans in the stadium, Unai Emery possibly, but the contract and the amount of money given to the player, that's on the club. No Arsenal fan has turned around and saying, give him 350 grand a week. It is on the club to decide how much money they offer Mesut Ozil. Kondogbia on a cheap, ain't a bad deal. We're not talking about transfers. I'm so tired of transfers. Let's carry on with the interview and get to the next parts of what he was saying. Okay, this is a really interesting quote. It's the quote that I tweeted out this morning. I'll decide when I go, not other people. Which is a very, very scathing comment to the people that clearly at the club that would like him to move on, that clearly would like that money to be spent elsewhere. He says, I didn't sign for 2 or 3 years. I signed for 4, and that should be respected by everyone. Things have obviously been difficult, but I love Arsenal. I love to work there. I love the people in the club, the real people. The real people, those I've been with for a long time. And I love London. It's my home. Now, when he says the real people, those I've been with a long time, that's clearly a dig at the likes of Raul Sanyehi. It's a dig at possibly some of the contractual people, maybe like Husfami, I don't know. But then there's a question mark because, of course, Ozil has been around Arteta when he was a player, when he first came in. But he's also very recently been joined by Arteta at the club. So when he says those I've been with for a long time, I don't know if he's counting Arteta in that. My initial reaction is no, because Arteta has not been around him for a long time. He spent several years away from Arteta when Arteta was at Manchester City. And I think that if you're trying to get back into the team, describing people at the club as unreal or fake, because that is what he's doing by saying, I love to work here. I love the people at the club, the real people, specifying some people in the club he considers as fake. And then he caveats that with saying, those are the people that I've been with, or says those I've been with for a long time, saying that the people that have not been there for a significant amount of time are not the real ones. That's such a dig. It's such an unprofessional statement. I don't know if I'm shocked because Ozil's come out with quite poignant things in the past, but to say it's so cut and dry and so black and white like that is madness. I can't believe he said something like that. Maybe I'm overhyping it, but you don't really see things like that coming out. He says, whatever happened in the last 2 seasons, I'm happy and very strong mentally. Obviously a reference to the period under Unai Emery. I have never given up on anything. I want to help my team and I'll fight for it. If I'm fit, I know what I can do on the pitch. And of course, he caveats that with, if I'm fit. Now, what constitutes Mesut Ozil's fitness and what constitutes the fitness of a regular footballer, for me, are 2 different things. I feel like Ozil will not play in a scenario where other players would play. I feel there are players that play through the pain. We've seen it with the likes of Hector Bellerin playing through the pain of injections when Mesut Ozil would not play through that. But I don't know the intricacies of his injury. I'm just speculating with that. But in my opinion, Mesut Ozil would not play through periods that other players would. And if that's a commitment to the team, when he's saying that he's committed, for me, that's not full commitment. Ornstein says physical condition was assumed to be a factor in Ozil's post-lockdown non-selection, though Arteta's public comments focus more on wanting players who are on the boat. He explained that to mean there is a set of values and behaviours he expects his squad and quality to display on a daily basis. Now, I mean, I get the point there. Arteta was going to play players that were fully committed. Ozil's been on the bench, clearly meaning he is fit, and he's not even got on. So you have to consider that. He says, I can't talk about my private conversations with the coach, which is kind of contradictory to turning around and saying that, calling people fake, effectively by saying the real people that he loves at the club, that he's been with a long time. So it's all well and good trying to be respectful to the coach, but then turning around and saying, I love the people, the real people that I've been with a long time. It's a little, but I can tell you I know my body well. I was fit enough to play every game before the break, and apart from a small injury, it was the same after. My daughter was born while we were off, so maybe I was not always sleeping perfectly, but this is normal. I actually had more energy and excitement to play because of her. Nicola Pepe had a baby and played in the FA Cup final, was in the squad and was playing. I understand that it's a very personal thing, and Ozil's gone through a lot mentally with the robbery and stuff, and he's very, very protective over that side of things. But other players in the team have had kids and have gone on to play almost immediately after. Pepe missed 1 game because his other half was literally having the baby. I don't buy into that one whatsoever. I'll give them the game that they have off because your other half's having a kid and you're having your first child, but not the length of time. And it was, as he says, it was during lockdown as well. So he's had time with the child to come back into the fray. For me, I'm not sure when you've got other players in the squad that are showing commitment more so, like Pepe, that it counts. As a player, you sometimes have bad days and can't always be happy, especially if you're not playing. When you know how good you are and you know you're not going to be picked, it's hard to be at 100%. And of course, you can get disappointed. This is my profession. It's what I love doing, being on the pitch, playing matches, showing the people, helping the club and my team. He speaks a good game. We know that Ozil speaks a good game. He always wants to come out and say that. But I just feel that if he was fit enough and if he was as good as what he's saying, Arteta would pick him, and he's not been picked. I fully respect the coach's decision, but I believe these things should mainly be decided on the pitch. After the restart, I wasn't given a chance to show what I can do. You don't play 10 games in a row if you're unfit, not good enough, or don't behave well. If I played these games badly and was then left out completely for that reason, then I might understand. But this was not the case. So he's citing that there are other reasons other than what he's showing on the pitch for why he is not starting. This must be, and I can only read between the lines, must be linked with the decision of Arteta and the board to try and avoid playing Ozil, to try and force him out of the club. That is the only way that I can read into that. He's saying that the reasons he's been left out of the team are not for footballing reasons on the pitch, and it's for things that are happening off it. And clearly the club want to move on from Ozil. It's very, very obvious. But he is saying that the reason why he's left out was for that reason, wholeheartedly, and nothing to do with football. So there you go. Then we go on to the pay cut stuff. Before we go on to the pay cut stuff, let's get some more of your comments. Kitchener says, it sounds like he's trying to put Arteta under fire. This is a fight he'll definitely lose. Asmit says his PR game is strong. Casper says the problem is that I think he really wants to play and doesn't accept his time to be over at Arsenal. Since we lack creativity, why don't we just give him a go? Well, we've lacked creativity through the season, and he's been playing through the season. So I'm just not sure it's as simple as just throwing him back in and then he goes out of favour and he goes back out again. Yonic Max says, I think he could be talking about Arteta when he says the people that know me. Genuinely think this is down to the board. Ozil played quite a bit before the lockdown. He did under Arteta, but it changed. And I think that's a board decision in conjunction with Arteta. Arteta picks the team at the end of the day. He could go against the board and pick it. Arteta's got a lot of weight at the club. Like, you can't disagree with that. Arteta's sort of standing and sort of figure at the club is very, very strong, especially having done what he's done in just 6 months. It has been reported that Ozil was ultimately alone in declining to be involved, and the subject of resurfaced last week when Arsenal announced 55 redundancies, angering some of their players who had agreed to the pay cuts on a condition that all staff would retain their jobs. Ozil said, as players, we all wanted to contribute, but we needed more information and many questions were unanswered. Everyone was fine with a deferral while there was so much uncertainty. I would have been okay to take a bigger share and then a cut if required once the football and financial outlook was clearer. But we were rushed into it without proper consultation. So this is the biggest insight we've got into the club's decisions around pay cuts. The players were told, it's reported the players were told that there would be no more job losses if they took the cut, and Ozil has come out saying that there were questions left unanswered. So maybe those reports are inaccurate, and maybe, and again, this is the board coming under fire for not being clear enough about the pay cuts. A pay cut for a footballer is a lot of money. I understand they get paid a lot, but you have to understand they're not living a life like me and you. Their mortgages are not the same as me and you. Their lifestyle and the way they buy everything is not the same as me and you. Their expenditures, because of their lifestyle, are locked in for a significant amount of time at that level of money that they're being paid. You don't earn that amount of money and then don't commit it to things. There will be other, and he talks about a little bit later on the commitments he has to charities and stuff like that. And players should be given complete clarity about the deferral, about how much money is being expected, about when they'll expect to get that money back. Because for us, it's sometimes easy to detach ourselves from the world of footballers because we just aren't in that bracket. We're nowhere near that bracket in terms of what we earn. And so sometimes it's very easy to go, oh, well, they've got loads of money, they should take a pay cut. But it's always important to stress that these players have a lifestyle which they're locked into and will be paying out money for things that are a lot of money because that's their houses and their cars and everything else that they have. But for that, sorry, not but for that reason, I think it's important that you take into consideration that the players should have been given more clarity. However, if the whole team is taking a cut and Ozil is the only one to not do that, it gives you a sense of detachment. It gives you a sense that he's not willing to commit like the other players are. I don't know whether that's a fair representation, but it is what it is. For anyone in this situation, you have a right to know everything, to understand why it is happening and where the money is going. But we didn't get enough details. We just had to give a decision. It was far too quick for something so important, and there was a lot of pressure. This was not fair, especially for the young guys, and I refused. I had a baby at home and have commitments to my family here in Turkey and in Germany, and to my charities too. It also to a new project we started to support people in London that was from the heart and not done for publicity. The one thing you have to say that I believe Ozil in that sense is charity stuff is not done for publicity. It's done behind closed doors as much as possible. I didn't know about the London project that was going on. That goes to show that things are done as much as possible behind closed doors. And the only reason this is being brought up is because his pay was under threat, if you want to describe it as such. So for that reason, I'm fully on board with what he's saying there. He's got the commitments to all of these different things. And if he's not being given clarity on why a pay cut is necessary, on if job losses would still occur even if he took one, then it makes sense for him to turn that pay deferral down, in my opinion. So it is what it is. Yonic Matt says the redundancies are looking more iffy by the day. 100% agree with you. B-Rogue says, what is the club's weekly payroll? How much was the cut going to generate? I'm not sure in terms of the official figures, and I don't want to just privy by saying a random figure that I've heard from a news website. I don't think it was. I don't know. I'm not going to say, because I'd rather not get pinned down for saying something that isn't right. Red Bull says he is holding us to ransom for his charities. So his charities. I don't think he's holding us to ransom. 350 grand a week for the whole budget of the team is not like a massive percentage. It's I don't know what it is, but it's not a massive percentage when you think about all of the salaries, the whole club. He's not holding us to ransom. It's a ridiculous statement, and I don't buy into it at all. It signifies a significant amount of money that could be saved and used in other transfers and to maybe keep jobs. I don't think it would have done from the way things have played out, but I just think it's very harsh to say that Ozil is holding the club to ransom. His wage is not a significant enough outlay that it holds the club to ransom. I don't agree with that at all. People who know me know exactly how generous I am. Okay, here we go. As far as I'm aware, I was not the only player who rejected the cut in the end, but only my name came out. I guess that's because it is me, and people have been trying for 2 years to destroy me, to make me unhappy, to push an agenda they hope will turn the supporters against me. Now, the only way that any information about a player gets out is through the club, through leaks, done specifically and intentionally so the media get hold of that information. It's fact. That is fact. Any information that is true, like this, that comes out is done through the club. Someone within the club wanted the media to know that Ozil did not take the pay cut. And whilst whatever you think about Ozil's decision to not take the pay cut, it is wrong for the club to have done that, in my opinion. It is wrong for the club to come out and leak that information, because that club's kept with it. That information's kept within house. So someone within the club, be it a board member, be it a player, be it a staff member, has done something incredibly unprofessional, in my view, by getting that information out there. And it is done, as Ozil said, to destroy him. I completely agree with him. It is being done to sully his name. And that, whatever you think of the guy, and I want him to move on as much as the next guy, but he is being treated unfairly in that sense. The generous bit is, I don't know, it's a bit pandering, isn't it? Possibly the direction affected my chances, possibly the decision affected my chances on the pitch. I don't know, but I'm not afraid to stand up for what I feel is right. And when you see what has happened now with the jobs, maybe I was. Now that is very, very specific. So he's saying that he was right to turn down the pay cut because these people have obviously lost their jobs. So fair play to him for saying that. Fair play to that one. It's hard when a player wants to leave and the club says no. The player must accept. This is the last thing I'm going to talk about on this matter. It's hard when a player wants to leave. Actually, no, it's not the last thing, because there's an important point at the end that I should raise. It's hard when a player wants to leave and the club says no. The player must accept it unless they find a solution together. So when a club wants a player to leave and the player says no, the club must accept it unless a solution can be found together. I don't want to leave, so that's it. I mean, he has a point. When a club wants the player to leave, when a player wants to leave the club and the club says no, they don't leave unless the club changes their mind. So when you swap roles, it does make sense. Now, there is a bit at the end of this article that is exceptionally important, which I will get to in just a second. Let me get some of your thoughts. That's a condemnation of the board. Yes, it is. Big Cell, thank you. Where was the Big Cell comment? Let me I can't find it. Okay. Tajay says, Arteta had a big job in his hands to stabilise the club, which he did. Now that the season is over, Arteta has the time to work with the whole team. He took us out from the deep end with some special swimmers. Priyesh says, wonder why Ozil is not bothered about his own game time where it can be easily negotiated, and he revives his reputation on the compromise of some wages at other clubs. Yeah, I get your point. If he's bothered about playtime, maybe he can get playing time elsewhere. Highbury says, why isn't Stan Kroenke willing to use his own money to help Arsenal? He is worth $10 billion and his wife, Ulma heiress, is worth $10 billion as well. I mean, it's a question for another podcast, isn't it? Big Gunner D says, hopefully we can get some decent sales, then we can pay him outright to Leach elsewhere. Again, I don't agree with the point about Leach. I don't think it's anything to do with that. He puts his money into the right places. Does this force the club's hand? Is a good question. I mean, if it does, I don't know how much power they have. I don't know how much power they have. I don't know if it breaches any contract that he had. I don't know if he was meant to come out. I don't know if they can punish him for this. I don't know. Anyway, the last point. Here we go. Ozil was in the eye of an entirely different storm late last year when he criticised the alleged persecution of, I'm sorry if I pronounce this wrong, Uyghur Muslims in China, remarks from which Arsenal distanced themselves. Now, at the time, this was before the Black Lives Matter situation, and Ozil is obviously a very, very big supporter of trying to make people aware as much as possible of the supposed horrific things that are going on in China. And the club distanced themselves from those remarks. And then later on down the line, of course, supported, as they should have done with the whole of the Premier League and beyond, the Black Lives Matter movement. And Ozil says every human is equal. It doesn't matter what religion or color you are, Muslim, Christian, Jew, black, white, or anything else. We are all the same. What I said was not against Chinese people. It was against whoever is doing this to the Uyghur Muslims and other people who are not helping them, such as other Muslim countries. I've given a lot to Arsenal on and off the pitch, so the reaction was disappointing. They said they don't get involved in politics, but this isn't politics, and they have got involved in other issues. In America, we saw George Floyd killed, and the world spoke up to say Black Lives Matter, and that is correct. We are all equal, and it's a good thing that people fight against injustice. There are a lot of black players and fans of Arsenal, and it's fantastic the club is backing them. But I wish people would have done the same for the Muslims, because Arsenal have many Muslim players and fans as well, and it is important for the world to say that Muslim lives matter. And I completely agree with him on that sense. I disagree with how the club approached it, to distance themselves from that matter and to then go and support, quite rightly, the Black Lives Matter. He's got a completely fair point there. It's the same. Everyone is equal, and the support of these types of movements is correct. And I just can't understand why the club did what they did. In that sense, it made absolutely no sense to come out and make a statement distancing themselves. It's not even a case of they didn't say anything. They distanced themselves from it. And that was just, I can't understand. I should say that TGT, obviously, our thoughts go out to everyone that's been affected by this sort of thing. And I really genuinely hope that your fortunes improve and that something is done to rectify these situations massively. So yeah, that's going to round off the podcast. Sorry that ends on such a sad note. I agree with wholeheartedly what Ozil was saying on that matter. It's and I can see some of you are putting the reasons why the club distanced themselves from it in that statement in an opinionated way. And yeah, so it is what it is in terms of the reasons why the club did it wrongly. I don't think they should have distanced themselves at all from that. It was horrific. So there you go. That breaks down the article on The Athletic of Mesut Ozil. Say what you like about him. I disagree with some of the points he made in that interview. I agreed with other things he said within the interview. I think he's called out people on the board. From a fan perspective, you say fair play to him. From a professional perspective, I'm not sure you can do that. And there may be repercussions from that. I don't know. Some of them were quite vague. Some of them could have been sort of aimed at Mikel Arteta, the one about the real people and the fake people. He obviously didn't say fake people, but obviously he's saying that the real people at the club, and then the opposite of that being the rest of them. You make your assumptions about that. It was a really odd situation. But yeah, so in terms of that, put your thoughts in the comment section below. Tell me what you think. It's a hell of a situation. The fallout from this is going to be intriguing to follow and see what the club do. See if any of the manager will be asked on it, I imagine. I mean, surely the journalists will take this and ask it. So there you go. I'm really interested to know what you think. And yeah, I don't think we could have covered this in any other way, really. So there you go. We've obviously got another show coming out this evening, a tactical breakdown on Quincy Promes, which should be interesting with the help of James Rowe. So make sure you turn those notifications on so you can get that into your subscription boxes and your notification boxes. Yesterday, 2 shows were out as well. Tactical breakdown podcast with Drew talking about Ceballos remaining at Real Madrid and who we should look to replace him. And then in the evening, with the help of Drew again and John and Owen, we were talking about all of the intricacies of swap deals, trading like Pokemon cards these days, Arsenal. So we talked about that, which was really, really interesting as well. And then this morning we released a new article with John interviewing the woman behind Chicago Gooners and her story, which John has been doing a fantastic job with these fan interviews around the world. It's amazing. Click the link in the description, which will take you to the website homepage. And if you scroll down, you will find that. If you click on the blog page, you'll get the rest of our articles as well from Owen, myself, John, and Drew. Make sure you go check those out. There's another article coming out later today, which is from Mike McDonald, which is a guest piece, part 2 of his 10 things that Arsenal must do for 2021. So honestly, check them out. They're amazing stuff. I can't wait to show you guys what's coming up. Thank you again to, of course, our members. All of the guys on the screen you can see there. Massive, massive thank you to all of them that have become expert members, and our plus members and TGT members as well. But our expert members are helping us out hugely with everything that they're helping us to support us to do. I'll see you again later on for this. Looking forward to show you what this is going to be about a little bit later on. Much excited to show you what James Rowe had to say. But it's been a pleasure speaking to you. I'll see you again very, very soon. And as always, up the Arsenal.